Let me start by saying that it has been quite a journey, and that it's heartwarming to see that all the efforts have now reached fruition. And therefore, I want to begin by taking this opportunity to thank all those that were involved, the sponsors, which is the European Union, the Museums Association of Namibia, government through the relevant line ministries, the committee, the locals that were involved in opening up and telling people about their stories. As we know that this museum space has been open since the early 2000s, and therefore all efforts being undertaken to see that we realize this day has taken this far. But nonetheless, we are here. The museum is now ready for visitations from school groups, from communities, from tourists, and all the relevant stakeholders, researchers, and especially the locals from the corners of this region, that they can travel to come and see. And not only see, that they can come and give input where they feel that we need to better the displays or exhibitions. But most importantly, that they can also contribute in terms of donating cultural objects or artifacts that we can constantly use to educate the people about our cultural heritage. We have a rich cultural heritage, as you can see in terms of the displays that are put up. This is just a tip of the iceberg in terms of what we can show. So as a space where we can debate, we can talk about our past, this museum is ideally located in the center of town. But also as a space where we can keep objects from communities for posterity. I think that's also important. But from our side, we are also saying we finally now have a space in the region where cultural objects that might have been taken to the other parts of the country, to the other parts of the world, can be repatriated and be shown here, or can be stored here. And therefore, one major task that the committee and the ministry will now also embark upon is to get actively engaged in the debate for repatriation, but also the hunt for objects worldwide where we can find them, and therefore we will continue to engage. We know the museums, some of the museums that have cultural objects which were collected from here. And I think when we see, for example, that the bronze statues, Benin statues at the Anon, that there is now green light for them to come back, it gives us hope that it will not end there, that museums across the world, that they will find it in their hearts to retain objects And it will be one of our tasks that we should be able to collect those objects and have them on display here so that people really know about their past. But one unique aspect or element of this museum really is the biodiversity conservation. As you can see in terms of the displays that we have on place, the uniqueness of this region really owes much to its cultural heritage, but more so to its natural heritage. And when you compare and contrast it to the rest of the country, you'll see how rich and diverse the biodiversity that we have in this region. That's why we are placing that emphasis. But it does not really just limit us to those, as we had stated previously, that will also look into current topics and provide a space for people to come and engage. We are now going through the COVID pandemic, for example. What role can institutions such as museums play in terms of awareness, so that communities know how to relate to those that are affected? How do they take care of themselves and take care of those that are afflicted? I think it's a museum that will also deal with current topics as they emerge. So that is what gives us this excitement. Not only that the museum is finally open, but that this space is available, and we really call upon it's not only residents of the Zambezi, but residents of the rest of the country, but more so our neighboring territories. When they find time to come to Katima Mlilo, that they can spend time to come and visit these museums, because we are situating ourselves as an eco-museum in the KAZA region, and we really want to reach out to the other communities in the KAZA region, that if they also have items that are relevant to the histories of the people in this region, that they can also contribute by donating or giving them on loan, so that we enrich these displays. So let me just conclude once again by saying all those that were involved, we appreciate. This is a job well done. Let's continue assisting. This is just a beginning. We will be embarking on showcasing temporary exhibitions, and therefore all those topics that are relevant, which people feel that we must upgrade. For me, this is really going a long way in terms of bringing together the people in this region. As in a sense, it's a reconciliation focal point. That's why we are showcasing objects from all the groups in the region. Thank you.
The Museums Association of Namibia believes that Namibia is on the front line of the global battle against climate change. MEN represents a network of museum workers based at heritage sites and museums all over Namibia. Our members are passionate and make considerable sacrifices to help preserve our natural and cultural heritage. We are, therefore, very aware of the way in which environmental changes threaten our heritage. The erratic weather patterns that are one of the consequences of global shifts in the climate change due to global warming are likely to have a severe impact on Namibia with its fragile ecosystem. We believe that the new Zambezi Museum will build on our previous efforts to raise public awareness and promote ways in which we can respond to environmental challenges. The Changing Climate, Changing Namibia mobile exhibition that the Museums Association of Namibia produced in partnership with Adventures has already been shown in many venues. We hope that the Zambezi Museum will attract not just local residents, but people from all over Namibia. We also believe that the museum can become one of the Namibian destinations as the KAZA project strengthens cross-border ecotourism. The Museum Association of Namibia believes that the launch of the Zambezi Museum places Katima Mulilo at the center of Namibia's efforts to tackle our environmental challenges. However, we believe that the launch of the museum should be seen as just the start of the process. Indeed, the Museums Association of Namibia would like to use this opportunity to appeal for assistance to convert the Zambezi Museum into Namibia's first green museum. The Zambezi Museum is housed in a building that was officially opened in 2003, almost 20 years ago. Now that the museum is containing displays that seek to raise environmental awareness, we feel that the building needs to be transformed. One can say that the displays might talk the talk, but the building needs to walk the walk. We need to demonstrate the creative ways in which the building can save energy and itself become more friendly to the environment. The open space around the building itself has tremendous potential to be landscaped and developed to help convey the messages contained in the displays in the museum. On behalf of the Museums Association of Namibia, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of the members of the ZAMEC, the Zambezi Museum Advisory Committee, who have contributed to the development of the displays in the museum. I would also like to acknowledge the work of Annie Simont, who collated a great deal of the research that lies behind the displays. I should also not miss the opportunity to thank the small but powerful men team who work harder and with more passion than any other people that I know. I should be honest and say that there have been times when the challenges that we faced to get this museum open to the public have seemed unsurmountable. I know because until last year, I myself was a member of the main staff. I can honestly say that the determination and stubborn optimism of my colleagues, Dr. Jeremy Sylvester, Ms. Ndapeoshali Ashipala, and Mr. Tuda Haitula, has played a crucial role in making this museum into a reality. I can say that the opening of the museum today is a great achievement. However, I would argue that the success of the museum should only really be measured by its impact. MAN believes that the Zambezi Museum has a message for all Namibians. We hope that it will expand and grow and receive support from Namibians in all the regions of our country.
As you will notice in the museum, the logo that we have chosen, it's of a person who is paddling the canoe. And usually in the region, the canoe is paddled from behind. In other words, the paddler is standing or sitting behind the canoe. But in this case, we deliberately chose a logo that is indicating a paddler who is in front. So that is a deliberate attempt to showcase how museums are forward-thinking, how we are moving forward in reinterpreting, reinventing, and decolonizing museums. Museums are institutions that are changing in as much as they represent cultural aspect of the community. So the fact that museums are changing, are evolving, are not static. It symbolizes that we also as a community need to move forward with the museum. So in future, the museum, the Zambezi Museum in particular, will integrate other aspects that might not necessarily be displayed here at the museum now in time. But with time, as the museum grows, it will change. And also we envision the museum to integrate the latest technology, which is aimed at accessibility. So this will integrate aspects such as virtual reality for those who are unable to come physically view the artifacts or the representation within the museum. They can access this online virtually. So we are looking towards that future and the growth and expansion of this particular museum.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you. It gives me a great pleasure today to be able to say a few words on behalf of the Director of National Heritage and Culture Program about the new Zambezi Museum. The Ministry of Education, Art and Culture is happy to have been able to partner with the Museums Association of Namibia to enable this new museum to be developed in the heart of Katima Mulilo. When I look at the museum landscape in Namibia, I'm aware that many of our museums have concentrated on history and our cultural heritage, but we have few museums that focus on our natural heritage. The Zambezi Museum will have a focus on environmental issues and so will be an important contribution to the growing network of museums across Namibia. The Director believes strongly in the important role that the museum can play in raising environmental awareness in society. We provide space at the National Museum of Namibia to Adventure, an organization that does important outreach work with schools and young people. The Zambezi Museum will be the first major museum in Zambezi region that I think it will become an important educational space. I believe that the Zambezi Museum will be able to join a growing network of museums with an environmental focus that aim to be part of the solution to the environment threat that are facing our planet. The Zambezi Museum has an active engagement with the community living in the Zambezi region. The main purpose of the museum is to present visual displays about the environment challenge that residents of the region face and to open up a space for dialogue about those issues. However, I'm also pleased to see that the museum also focuses on the unique cultural heritage of the region and the way in which this reflects the animals and plants that people live with. The museum will have an important gallery that will give information about some of the pre-colonial and colonial heritage sites in the region. Several years ago, the Museums Association of Namibia and the National Heritage Council initiated a project called the Heritage Hunt. The aim of the project was to ask community to identify places that were important to them for historical cultural reasons or because they were part of the region's natural heritage. The establishment of the Zambezi Museum provides the opportunity to create a local memorial bank of indigenous knowledge about places, flora and fauna in the region. The Heritage Hunt will be one example of the way in which local visitors to the museum will be able to increase awareness of the region by suggesting additional places of natural and cultural importance. The Zambezi Museum seeks to be a center that engages with local people about local issues. The aim of the museum will be to create an educational resources with a particular focus on learners and young people. It will be a place where knowledge can be shared about how people can continue to live in harmony with the environment and the role of culture and encouraging people to value the natural resources that the Zambezi region has been blessed with. I believe that the Zambezi Museum can become an important model of the way in which museums can serve as important educational tools and makes a positive difference in our nation. Little Mercy.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I am pleased to congratulate you on the successful completion of the Zambezi Museum. My special thanks go to the Museums Association of Namibia, whose team has been relentlessly working to make this launch possible, despite of the unfavorable conditions of the COVID-19 pandemic during the past year. I also wish to express my appreciation to all the dedicated colleagues at the Ministry of Arts, Culture and Education who have supported the Museum Association with all their expertise, logistics and infrastructure and all other partners that were involved. The European Union delegation to Namibia has during the past 3.5 years funded the project Museum Development as a Tool for Strengthening Cultural Rights in Namibia, contributing around 240,000 euro, roughly about 3.5 million Namibian dollars. Apart from this specific project, we are funding other significant activities in Namibia that aim at protecting social and cultural rights, particularly of the most marginalized communities. The guiding principles for EU action in the area of culture are the promotion of cultural diversity and the respect for human rights. Cultural diversity can be protected and promoted only if human rights and fundamental freedoms are guaranteed. These fundamental rights constitute essential foundations for democracy, sustainable inclusive development, and participation in public affairs alike. Dear friends, fortunately, in recent years, global consciousness about the threats to the environment of our planet have reached new levels. Culture has played an important role in mediating the relationship between people and their environment. It is a relationship that changes over time. For example, deforestation has forced people to find other materials to build their homestead with. Culture often provides mechanisms to manage the environment in a sustainable way. For example, rituals to control the harvesting of forest products or places where fishing could take place in the river. Sacred groves also protect forests. In Zambezi Museum that we are inaugurating today, we'll emphasize this relationship between culture and the environment. It will focus on the ways in which people have managed their volatile landscape. The Zambezi region regularly experiences large-scale flooding as well as natural threats to farmers, such as the recent plague of locust. The museum will demonstrate ways in which traditional cultural practices have helped people in the Zambezi region to be resilient and to adapt to the environmental challenges that they face. The museum will also display and elaborate the economic importance of culture. The innovative concept of the new museum is also reflected in the fact that it will seek to create a dialogue with the local communities about environmental issues, and it will be important in the future that the museum develops an educational program that encourages young people to engage with environmental issues. To conclude, I wish to highlight that the current pandemic has, amongst others, also demonstrated the interconnection of all life on planet Earth. The threats to our environment are a threat to the very basis of our existence, animals and humans alike. Equally, climate change, if not halted in time, with all its dramatic effects, will impact everyone in the world. The Zambezi Museum is one small yet important positive step forwards. It will encourage visitors to value the natural resources of the region and elsewhere in the world, and promote ways in which these resources can be used in a sustainable way for generations to come. Thank you for your attention.
Fellow citizens of Namibia, today we are gathered online in all corners of Namibia to launch together the Zambezi Museum, a new museum situated in the heart of Katima Mulilo. The Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture believes that it is important that every region of the country is blessed with a museum. Museums can provide platform for showcasing the stories and the natural resources of the landmarks that gives each region in Namibia its unique character. Sometimes people argue that museums are a foreign concept and should be abandoned. However, I believe that our challenge is to develop museums that reflect a Namibian identity. The concept of heritage is linked to the idea of inheritance, the idea that valuable things should be passed on from one generation to the next. all communities in Namibia had rituals and practices that ensured that both knowledge and physical objects were passed down from one generation to the next. Museums simply provide a new platform for preserving our indigenous knowledge and conserving objects that have a deep cultural and historical significance. I would like to take this opportunity to give my own personal thanks to Ambassador Sinika Antila, the delegation of the European Union, for the financial support that they have provided for this project. You have helped us to create a special museum. I would like to assure you that our ministry will take care of this important asset. I would like also to thank the team from the Museums Association of Namibia and the members of the Zambezi Museum Advisory Committee, led by Dr. Bennett Kangumu. I would like to thank you all for the huge amount of work that has gone into making this museum possible, despite the major disruption that we have all faced over the last 12 months. The Zambezi Museum will be a different kind of museum to those that we might be familiar with. The environment will be at the center of the museum. In our national context, that Zambezi region is well known for the huge variety of plants and wildlife that it contains. However, the richness of the region, biodiversity, and the impact of regional rainfall also creates unique environmental challenges for the residents in this region. The central focus of the Zambezi Museum will be on the ecology of the region. In other words, the ways in which people have interact with the environment. The Zambezi Museum will have 12 sections. The museum will highlight 6 environmental challenges that the residents of the region face and will show traditional and contemporary ways in which communities have been and continue to be resilient in the face of these challenges. However, it will also provide some insight into history and cultural heritage in the region. The museum opens with a gallery that celebrates Zambezi as potentially Namibians' garden. However, it also raises concerns about the local impact of the global threat of the climate change. It indicates the ways in which conservation agriculture is helping communities tackling the challenge weather patterns. The Zambezi region is named after a mighty river that flows through the region and right across the African continent until it reaches the Indian Ocean on the Mozambican coast. 2 galleries in the museum relate directly to the role of water in the lives of the people living in Zambezi region. One focuses on the ways in which people have adapted to live with the seasonal flooding that occurs. The other looks at the question of the best way to ensure that fishing in this river of the region is managed in sustainable way. People have lived with wildlife in the Zambezi for hundreds of years, but animals such as hippos, crocodiles, elephants, snakes, and locusts can pose a threat to both livelihood and lives. Now, one gallery describes the ways in which people in the region manage to share space with animals. Another gallery looks at the importance of the forest in the region as an economic resource and discusses the best way to conserve some of our ancient woodlands. The biodiversity of the region is one of the reasons why traditional doctors have accumulated such a rich knowledge of the medicine properties of plants, and is a topic that is also discussed in one of the galleries. The museum also sees an opportunity to raise awareness of the location of the Zambezi region at the center of the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, the KAZA. KAZA is a partnership between Namibia and 4 neighboring countries, which is Angola, Botswana, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. The central aims of KAZA are to create a network of parks and environmentally protected areas to help coordinate the protection of wildlife. However, KAZA also aims to promote regional tourism by making it possible for travelers to move easily within the KAZA area. The other 6 galleries in the museum reflect the ways in which the cultural heritage of people living in the region is rooted in the landscape and environment. In many ways, the landscape itself is a historical archive of the region with many memories and rituals associated with particular places in the region. The museum is also used one gallery to increase awareness of the important role of the region played in the liberation struggle. For example, people may not be aware that the first commander of SWAPO guerrilla forces, Tobias Hanyeko, was killed in a shootout whilst trying to cross the river into Zambezi in 1967. Another gallery is being used to celebrate and to promote local artists and woodcarvers. The museum contains a massive carving of its logo made by the Visual Arts Guild that really demonstrates the skilled carvers in the region. I'm happy to see that, as in the Museum of the Namibian Music, which was launched last month, the museum includes a temporary exhibition space. The first temporary exhibition in this space is called Zambezi Style. It is showcasing work by fashion designers based in the region, but the space will provide the opportunity for local schools and organizations to mount their own small exhibitions. The Zambezi Museum is going to provide a space for dialogue and engagement about the serious environmental issues in the region. It will also create the opportunity for Katima Mulilo to position itself as one of the gateways to the larger KAZA area. I believe that the museum will be unique in Namibia. The fact that the museum is located in the large park area means that there is a huge potential to expand the museum, its displays and its activities. Indeed, I understand that the colleagues at the Museums Association of Namibia have already obtained a plan that provides the basis for the expansion of the museum. I believe that this museum will have an impact not only in Zambezi region, but in the wider national and international community. And with these remarks, I would like to officially declare the Zambezi Museum open to the public. And I thank you.
It's important to document the impact of flooding, in particular in the Zambezi region, because it has a unique ecosystem. It is one of the few countries in the world that experiences annual flooding, which is flooding that is expected. And as such, this flooding has had a tremendous impact in the livelihoods of people around the region. So the impact has been positive as well as negative. So on the positive aspect, the impact of flooding has brought about the food supply to the local people in the form of fishing. And the negative impact includes displacement, mainly during schooling season. So it's very important that we document this impact so that we can display, we can showcase to the world the livelihood of the people in the Zambezi region. Well, one of the indigenous way of alleviating flooding is early detection or early notification. That is also documented in nature. So usually the indigenous people, they use signs through reading the animals as well as the birds, their movement. There are certain birds that only come during that period when the flood is about to arrive, and there are certain insects that come that period when the flood is about to arrive. And in particular, there are certain insects such as the spiders. Once they see the spider webs, it's a signal that flooding is about to emerge. And as a result, people start to prepare themselves to relocate to higher ground, to move their animals to higher ground, to prevent their animals from being surrounded by the water. As you can see behind me, the images that are showing the impact of flooding. Therefore, it's important to display and tell a story about this to tourists and the locals alike.
KAZA is actually an acronym which stands for Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Areas. And this is a large ecological landscape which includes 5 partner countries of Angola, Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And this is a very instrumental landscape initiative that have been put together by all these partner countries to ensure that there is a holistic approach to wildlife management across international borders. And the idea behind the concept of KAZA is actually to introduce the large ecological landscape of course, putting together the issues of tourism, issues of genetic pool, of large ecological landscape, of large ecosystems. And the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area is actually an initiative that has been put in place by bilateral agreements between the 5 partner countries. And the idea behind it is to ensure that large ecological pool or migration of elephants, zebras, roan, you name it, is to ensure that we extend tourism beyond borders, and to ensure that we actually don't strain issues of ecosystem services in one nation, but to ensure that we have these widespread up between the partner countries. And this is also one of the initiatives that has been put in place to ensure that, of course, there is aspect of national coherency between the 5 partner countries. And this has been proven to be working quite effectively. And this is quite a large, or should I say the largest landscape conservation initiative in the whole world.
The importance of museum cannot be ever emphasized. We are aware that the youth of nowadays, they are running away from a culture, and they do not have to do or want to do something regarding culture. So the museums are there to ensure that the cultural objects are protected, they are preserved and safeguarded. To the academics world, this is your opportunity, to ensure that you come and do your research. The museum is here. Come and educate yourself, especially for those ones who are studying in the field of cultural material, for those ones who are studying in the field of archaeology, for those ones who are studying in the field of anthropology. This is now your time. The Zambezi Museum is here. This is your opportunity. To the people and to the residents of Zambezi region, this museum belongs to us. Let us ensure that we protect it, we safeguard it, and we ensure that we urgent, guard it jealously. Because what is stored here, it is the true reflection of our own identity, of the people of Zambezi region of Namibia.
You are hereby invited to come and view the Zambezi Museum. Throughout the gallery, you will notice that there are some objects that are given on loan from the National Museum of Namibia. The National Museum of Namibia supports a regional museum initiative whereby the regional offices and the regional structure can also establish their own museums. And the National Museum of Namibia can provide professional assistance in terms of conservation, research, and other museological subjects.
We also welcome, more especially teachers, to encourage learners to form up school cultural clubs or historical clubs, so that they can get information from the museum. Most especially the principal, they must also bring their learners. They can come and learn a lot of things. We might give them even some projects to do in the museum, or we might come to their school. It might be on their request or on our program, depends on finance. We are also going to see to it that we work with the other smaller museums, such as living museums, so that we can have that connection and see how we can also support them.
Today is the 18th of May, and it's International Museums Day. And to celebrate that, we are launching the Zambezi Museum in the Zambezi region. And this museum is going to enable us to learn about different cultures and different aspects in the region, such as the fishing, the water, human-wildlife conflict, which is covered in most of the galleries. We have a total of 12 galleries and a temporary one. Currently, in the temporary exhibition, we have Zambezi fashion with artifacts from two fashion designers from the region. This museum is going to be used as a center for knowledge, learning for education students or anyone from the general public, and also just to highlight how the museum is a custodian for heritage, culture, and all the linked studies in the sector.
On behalf of the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time and watch the official opening launch of the Zambezi Museum. A lot of work has been done into creating the Zambezi Museum, and I would like to start by thanking everyone in the region who has already contributed to the creation of the initial displays of the museum. I would like to start by thanking Ambassador Sinica Antler and the European Union for the financial support that has enabled the Zambezi Museum to be launched today. You have helped transform our dream into reality. The European Union consists of 27 different countries with a population of around 450 million. I strongly believe that you will help to promote the Zambezi Museum in Europe and encourage some of those 450 million to travel to our region as the sky reopens for business. The Zambezi Museum has an advisory committee known as ZAMAC, which has been led by Dr. Bennett Kangumu, the Dean of the Katima Mulilo campus of the University of Namibia. I would like to thank him and his team for guiding the development of the exhibition, and especially Mr. Elliot Moore, who serves as the ZAMAC secretary. Small working groups were established by ZAMAC for each of the themes in the museum, and they have helped tremendously to shape the displays. I should say that I believe that today is not the end of their work. In fact, it's just the beginning. Indeed, I would like to encourage people who are interested in supporting the museum to contact us and be part of helping us develop the museum further. I would like also to take this opportunity to give a special word of thanks to colleagues at the Museums Association of Namibia who had worked tirelessly on the creation of the displays and the development of the museum. I have seen a huge amount of work that is done by this organization in developing museums across Namibia. I was shocked to discover that man only has 3 permanent staff, and I know that they have worked incredibly hard to bring this museum building, which has sat empty for many years, to life. I would like to give our heartfelt thanks to the director, Dr. Jeremy Sylvester, the operation manager, Ms. Ndabewe Shali Ashpala, and the museum development officer, Mr. Tuda Haituli. I would like to thank my colleagues in the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture, who have been directly involved in working on the museum. Here I would highlight the work of the Directorate of Heritage and Culture in our ministry, particularly Mr. Cliff Siambango and Ms. Penny Johannes, and also to Mr. Vincent Mwemba from the Directorate of Art. This team has been responsible for the outreach. After briefing the different traditional authorities, the colleagues has been directly involved in the important ongoing work of documenting heritage sites in the Zambezi region. I would also like to thank Ms. Nzila Mpusisi, the Chief Curator of the National Museum of Namibia, and Mr. Obista Siayo, who have generously arranged for historical objects from the National Collection to be loaned to the Zambezi Museum, and the personnel traveled with the objects to make sure that they arrive here safely. I would like to end by reminding all the residents of Zambezi region that this museum is ours. In this spirit, I would like to take this opportunity to announce that when schools reopens back to the second term, later this month, the Zambezi Museum will be inviting them to participate in a competition. One of the distinctive features of our region is the beautiful bird life and the fact that many birds have cultural significance. The museum will therefore be inviting learners in all the secondary schools in Zambezi region to take part in an art research competition that will focus on the birds of Zambezi. Small prize will be provided by the museum to the best interest, and a display of the best work produced will be shown in the museum. This is our museum. Let us use it. Let it matter to all of us. I thank you.